What's up YouTube, DeMi here. Well, I'm the Breach Mother. This is my Flameblast Elementalist. I respect my SRS character because it was doing shittily, so I made this instead. I'll go ahead and run a map while I talk about it. So the point of this character was to abuse Elementalist plus Flameblast Ignites to delete the entire screen of enemies really quickly, as well as having good clear speed, having Volpack the ES interactions. We have enough tankiness to deal with breaches and whatnot. And you basically just run around and do this all the time. It's great. Let's go ahead and clear the map. We'll talk about flasks, I guess. Using a Sulfur Flask with freeze immunity. The reason for that is because it gives increased just generic damage, which scales your initial hit as well as the ignite. So that's pretty good for us. The Consecrated Ground buff doesn't really do anything because we are using Volpack, so life regen does not apply. But that's okay, just generic damage increase for us. Second flask is a Basalt Flask with immunity to bleed. A good chunk of fizz mitigation there, as well as solving any bleed issues we might be having. Good 2-in-1 flask there. And the third flask is an Onslaught Flask with immunity to curses. I don't like being cursed with temp chains and maps on this character because it feels really shitty to have negative cast speed, so that's the source of that one. And then for boss fights, I have a immunity to ignite mana pot for those really long boss fights where you need to cast repeatedly. We kind of needed the mana potion to sustain, so I grabbed that. And then my last flask is Naziri's Promise for the leech off of the chaos damage dealt. So let's go ahead and put in Conk Effect for the boss fight, activate Ball Clarity, drop our Orb of Storm's Curse on hit setup, and ignite. And then do the same thing there. There you go. I'll finish the map later. We'll go talk about the skill tree and whatnot. So, the skill tree, you are Elementalist, and you pick up Shaper of Desolation for Conflux, and Beacon of Ruin, so you get your Conflux and your Ignites, whatever, they spread to nearby enemies and they have a huge radius, which is also scaled by area on the tree. So that allows you to prolift your burns onto the entire rest of the pack if you only hit part of it. Desolation rotates. I don't know if you guys know what Conflux does, but as you just sit here and hide out, you can see it rotating. It's a 4-second chill, and then you have a 4-second shock. Every damage you do shocks, chills, freezes, whatever. And then you have an igniting Conflux, so all of your damage ignites. And in the last 2 seconds, you have all of your damage shocks, chills, and ignites. So if you manage to time your big hits with that last 2-second buff, you'll destroy the entire area that you touch. Then last 4 links, I went for Pendulum Destruction for 100% increased elemental damage, which is generic elemental damage, scales the initial hit, and it scales the ignite damage. And you also gain 25% increased AoE for 4 seconds, which is scales our Flameblast and scales the Prolif effect from Beacon of Ruin. Amazing. Last 2 points. You could pick up reduced reflective damage taken, but I had no issues hitting reflect packs because they one-shot them or they prolif onto them and they die anyway. So I didn't need this node, so instead I opted for Mastermind of Discord, which gives you damage penetrates 25% of fire resistance if you used a lightning skill in the past 10 seconds. I use Orb of Storm's Curse on hit and I use Lightning Warp, so basically I get 25% free fire pen 100% of the time, so I'm sitting at 57% fire pen, which is fairly high. Skill tree, start as Witch. Go through the ES nodes, pick up the ES supercluster here, and then grab all of the area damage nodes here in a jewel socket. This is not a leveling tree, this is just my tree. Come up to CI, Infuse Shield, more ES, and then Life and Energy Shield with Written Blood over here. And then go through so we can leech to Energy Shield instead. Then I head down into the Scion Start, grab some mana regen, max mana, grabbed Harrier for cast speed, movement speed, attack speed, whatever, spell damage, jewel socket, and then I went over to Volpack, jewel socket. So we get instant life leech with Ghost Reaver, so we can just instantly leech back to full. Pretty sweet. And then we head into L Equilibrium. This may sound weird, but we're using Orb of Storm's Curse on hit. Orb of Storms is just constantly ticking lightning damage, so this is always applied with negative 50% fire res. And when you do the when you hit with Flameblast, they will take a massive chunk of fire damage, and then it'll also give them fire resistance because you hit with fire damage, right? But then the next chunk of Orb of Storms will reapply the negative 50% fire res, and then they'll burn to death from the ignite. Then I come down to Shaper for mana regen, and more mana jewel socket here, and then I pick up all of the area damage in Scion and AoE, and then I picked up the cast speed and spell damage in Scion as well. Jewel socket up here, Elemental Overload for 40% more elemental damage, generic again, so it scales your initial hit and your burn. Pick up all the cast speed nodes up here. Then I went Dual Curse with LE Weakness, Flammability, and then come over here for more ES nodes. Go over here for the fire damage, generic fire damage, which scales our initial hit and our ignite, and we get some AoE as well. Then we head down into the Templar area for spell damage, cast speed, ES, jewel sockets, generic elemental damage again, area damage and area of effect, spell damage, cast speed, cast speed, cast speed, cast speed, ES, and reduced mana cost of skills. Everything we wanted, basically. Okay, so the jewels I'm going for, I basically went for cast speed jewels because I wanted my Flameblast to be really, really fast, because I just like the way that feels. And then if you can get generic damage as well, things like fire damage, area damage, and just increased damage all double dip on your ignite and your initial hit, so grab that if you can. But other than that, I just went for cast speed mostly. Cast speed, cast speed, cast speed. Cast speed, cast speed, area damage. Fire damage, cast speed, area damage. And damage, cast speed, area damage. Damage, cast speed. You get the point? Basically cast speed. Alright. So, the 6th link. I'm using Flameblast, chance to ignite, controlled destruction, life leech, fire penetration, and conk effect, which is usually increased area of effect. Yeah, this life leech gem, you basically have you can use this as a 4-link, like you don't need life leech or chance to ignite. Flameblast is ridiculously strong without any supports, so like just Flameblast, controlled destruction, increased AoE fire pen is pretty good. You can also use faster casting instead of chance to ignite if you want to rely more on the conflux, but I wanted a pretty steady source of ignite, so I went with chance to ignite. And life leech for general safety, more or less. Without Azari's Promise, I have no leech, so that gem is awesome. Other links, I am using a Discipline linked with Clarity. Well, actually, just Discipline Clarity, doesn't matter where they are. Then I have a Vol Clarity linked with increased duration. This is primarily for boss fights when we have to keep hitting them repeatedly, which does not happen that often. You generally just need 1 or 2 Flame Blasts and they will die. But Aura's just Discipline Clarity. The 3-link here is the cast with damage taken, Immortal Call, and then we have an Enduring Cry somewhere to gain endurance charges. Then it's also linked to Lightning Golem, which gives cast speed. Amazing. And over here we have a 3-link cast with damage taken with just cast with damage taken Tempest Shield. Tempest Shield is lightning damage whenever we block. We apply Elemental Equilibrium for minus 50% fire and cold res, which is pretty cool. Enduring Cry for the endurance charge generation, as I said, that's self-cast, not triggered, so make sure you actually cast that every once in a while. Especially if there's porcupines in the map, just cast it before you go and blow up a pack. This 4-link is for our movement skill. It is Lightning Warp, faster casting, less duration, and rapid decay. Lightning Warp is tagged as a duration skill, so like it has a duration from when you cast it and when you actually land. So like this is without those 2 skills. And then when I put in less duration, it makes it faster. When I put in rapid decay, it makes it even faster. So that's our 4-link movement skill. And over here we have our Orbital Storms, Curse on Hit, LE Weak Flammability. This is actually just stupid for us because it's lightning damage. It gives minus 50% fire res from LE Equilibrium, and then it gives minus 38% LE resistance, so that's currently up to 88% negative fire res. And then we have flammability and chance to ignite from flammability. Sorry, minus fire res, chance to ignite. So 88 plus 38 is 96 plus 30 is 126 minus 126% fire res plus 12% chance to be ignited. And this goes up higher. I think it goes up to 44 and 44 if you get level 21. So that's like negative 140% fire res, which is just holy shit. No one's gonna have fire res after that. And then you ignite them with your flame blast, and they just fucking delete themselves. Gear, required gear, you need an Eye of Chayula. I'm using a Presence because I had bought this for Standard League, but use an Eye of Chayula. The Presence does literally nothing for this build other than stun immunity, so grab that. If you can get one that has, what implicits are useful? Block Chance, I think, is an implicit you can grab, or Cast Speed? Can you get Corrupted Cast Speed implicit? I don't know, just grab an Eye of Chayula, whatever. Weapon, I'm using a Doriani's Catalyst. Generic elemental damage, again, scales your initial hit and your ignite, so this is currently giving me 130% increased elemental damage, along with some cast speed and global critical strike chance to keep our LE overload up, which is great. And then everything else is just generic shitty ES gear. ES resist mana regen if you can get it. Mana regen on rings is really nice. ES resistance, mana regen, stats if you need them, whatever. Shield, I went for mana regen and ES, of course. And then boots, ES resistances. Gloves, guess what? ES resistances. And some stats. I need dex, so I'll grab some dex for rapid decay. Belt, ES resistances, strength. There you go. All the gear. Simple. What else do we need to do? Enchantments, Helm Enchant, you can go for either Flameblast damage or radius. I wanted more AoE. I grabbed literally all the AoE on the tree as well as the AoE on my Helm Enchant. So as you can see, I have a fairly nice amount of AoE. It's good. Boot Enchant, if you can get the 10% of damage penetrates elemental resistances if you haven't killed recently, that's pretty good for your boss fight damage. Or the attack and cast speed if you haven't, or sorry, if you've killed recently is also really nice. And then you can also get Leech if you killed recently. All very solid choices. Glove Enchant, you want to go for of the Tempest is pretty nice, or you can do of Flame, I think it's called. It's like the meteor one, the fire damage area spell, which is everything on our tree, obviously, so that's pretty hard hitting. Tempest is also very hard hitting. What's the button? C. It does, what, 6k lightning damage. This is actually, I think it's Merciless Edict, or is that Cruel? It's a very low tier enchant, but Commandment of the Tempest is pretty good. Commandment of Flame is also really good. You want like a spell that deals either lightning or cold to proc your EE, L Equilibrium, or a fire damage spell, which is the flame one. So yeah. What did I do with this character? I did all breach swords with this character. T15 maps, whatever. We tried Hydra, it didn't work out because we had a 3-man party and we wasted all our portals on dumb shit. That's not a bad ring. But yeah, this character is really nice for speed clearing maps. It's good at farming, it's good at surviving, it does a huge chunk of fire damage and burn, and it's very quick, so I like this character a lot. The skill tree or whatever will be in the description below. Bandits, all that stuff, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and that's DeMi out.